Okay, everyone, so we're going to go ahead and get started. It's prime time, so we're going to get our wood primed. That's going to be the very first step in this painting process. And so I'm just going to add the primer to the front sides of the wood. And I like to prime because it actually helps my paints to pop, helps the colors to pop when I add them. Instead of the paint soaking into the wood, it'll actually sit on top of the primer, and it really gives a nice colorful effect to your paint when you're painting. Just prime the front sides here. And you let the primer dry. And then once the primer dries, then you can go ahead and add on any type of drawing or stencil that you are going to use. And you'll be able to tell once you use the primer, you'll be able to tell the difference between when you paint with the primer and without. I don't necessarily use the primer for everything that I do, but there are a lot of things that I do use it for, and it really helps to pop colors when you paint on the wood. So this is your very first step. So we're going to go ahead and let this dry, and then we're going to get started with the painting process. While we're waiting for the primer to dry on the wood, I went ahead and added the colors to my paint dish. So I added a black. I ordered jack-o'-lantern orange. I added golden sunset. I added a metallic aquamarine. And then I added a caramel color over here. And then also I have a brown right here. So those are the colors that I'm going to start out with using, that I know for sure that I'm going to use. And then I'll slowly add additional colors as I go on, or start to mix colors as we get into the painting process. Okay, so the wood is dry. Now it is time to trace the stencil onto the wood. So I'm using trace paper, carbon paper, and I'm actually tracing the design on the wood. The tracing is now complete. Okay, y'all, so we have primed our wood, we've added in our stencil, and we've done the tracing with the black. Normally I use a black marker or black Sharpie for that first tracing to get everything started. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the first colors. And I wanted you to see that I did go ahead and add an additional color to my tray. I had this aquamarine and I went ahead and added a darker blue, and so we're going to get started with those two colors first. And I decided that I'm going to use those colors for the background, which to me looks like it would be the sky. So I'm going to add those two colors here. And I actually went ahead and already mixed them together. So now I'm just painting the background, just filling it in. And you'll notice if you start to use primer when you paint, you'll notice the difference between using the primer and just painting directly on wood. It's a different feel to it. When you use a primer, instead of the paint soaking into the wood, it actually sits on top of the primer. And that's what gives your paint colors that pop. You can see I'm just filling in the background area with this blue. Just get that all in. And this area can be any color. I personally love blue as background colors, but it could be any color that you want it to be. This particular blue is actually one of my favorites. These two colors that I put together is actually one of my favorites for background colors. Okay, so you can see we almost have the entire background filled in. All right, that's done. All right, so the next color that we're going to be using is going to be this orange. It's jack-o'-lantern orange. I'm going to start with that, and I'm going to start actually putting that on the sun. We're going to start with that color as the base color, and then after we use that color, we're actually going to jump into. Okay, so next I'm going to be coloring the sun, and I went ahead and added yellow to my tray. So I'm going to be using this yellow, and we're also going to be dipping into this jack-o'-lantern color. I'm going to use those two colors for the sun. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, and so the way I did it was I went ahead and added the orange, and I put that color as, we're going to use it basically as a base color. So I put the orange on first, and then what I'll do is I'll actually go back and add in the yellow in different areas of the sun. Since I want to use both colors. So we got that one done. And let's go ahead and jump over to this one and get this one done. I think for me, one of the things I enjoy most about painting is the process. Just seeing the different layers of the process. Me adding this orange onto the sun first, and then going back and adding different colors, like when I add the yellow, to give it just a little bit more interest. That process for me, I enjoy that process. So just adding orange in each area here. Okay, we're going to move on to the next thing. We're going to allow this to dry just a little bit, and then we'll come back to this part, adding in that yellow. Okay, so now it's time to go ahead and bring this queen to life. We are going to melanate her skin, give her some beautiful brown skin. And for that, I'm going to use 2 shades of brown. I have a dark brown. I don't know if you can see that, but I have a dark brown, which I use. And then I also use another lighter shade of brown. And I just mix those together in order to get my perfect melanated shade. And so we're going to go ahead and start with her face. Okay, so we have this one done. We'll go ahead and move to the next one.